All right, peace, family. I came across this article. Black Buster Rhymes actually showed it to me. It's called "Why Are Writers from Africa Disparaging African Americans?" It's one of those silly articles, and I'm just saying to myself, you know what? It's a good article to read to get into critical thinking. I did respond to this. I really wanted to engage the author of this article, uh, but I had no luck finding them. If you can find him, let me know. But this is it right here. You see, there's an image between two people. I'm guessing one of them is supposed to be an African American, the other one's supposed to be a continental African, right? And it's along the lines of, hey, there's a fight between these two. I don't know. I don't care. Let's, personally, look. Once upon a time, I used to consider myself an African American. Uh, I like with this whole, ADOS nonsense, at least what it does is that it lets people say, hey, dude, you're not an African American. And that's actually fine by me. You know what I mean? That's fine by me. Uh, it's like, whoa, no, thanks, But anyway, look, oh, and that's because my parents were immigrants, okay? My parents were immigrants. And so I would not be considered African American according to these people. Now, technically, I would look at things in the sense of, you have several identities. I can't remember what I put. I mean, I put it in the Book of Power. How you have a national, a racial, uh, like you have a national, a racial, a gender, and let's say a community identity. Okay, so technically, the racial identity is African. Okay, so whether you're African American, whether you're continental African, whether you're Jamaican American or whatever you want to call it, right? Which is what you would technically call me, right? But whatever, like that would be the distinction there, okay? It's kind of like KRS One says. He says, whether Black American, West Indian, Black Englishman, we're all African, right? So it's like, racially everybody's African. So let's just get that out of the way. But then you have to say nationally. So nationally, I would technically be an American. The African American is technically American, right? The continental African, depending on what part of the continent they're at, they are different nationalities. So the continental African in Nigeria is a nation is Nigerian. You know what I'm saying? If you have Nigerian citizenship, you're Nigerian. And this is something that a lot of us don't understand, that you can be racially one thing and nationally something else. Just like Wazungu, or the white man in America, he's racially European, okay, but he's nationally American. Or the white man in England, he's racially European, but nationally he's a British man or whatever, right? So so that should like clear up some stuff, and then you say, why would I be different from the quote unquote African American? You would say, well, that's like ethnically, in a sense. I mean, it's a tough distinction, but you would say ethnically we would be different. But like again, nobody really cares. Nobody really cares that deeply. And if you care that deeply, like I just said, nobody cares that deeply. I'm just messing. All right. Anyway, let's look at this article because I don't really have too much time. I'm so happy that you guys joined me though. So, uh, just say peace. Say what's up, and let's get it started. And by the way, I'm sitting down. I'm chill. I'm relaxing. I'm trying to just get through this article for you guys. All right. So scrolling through my Facebook timeline, I noticed an article that was shared entitled "Don't Confuse Generational Curses with Poor Generational Choices." I noticed several African Americans cheering on and agreeing with this article, which has compelled me to click on the article for my own review. Immediately, the name of the article's writer, Ara Iloaboku Chukwu, jumped out at me. She writes for Medium also. As I began reading, I was struck by the familiar pattern of writers from the African continent, along with many celebrities from various African countries and those from overseas who look down on African Americans. Now, look at this. Look down on African Americans. It's like what you're going to notice is that here in America, there is what we call victim mentality, and it's really disgusting. At some point, when the more consciousness you develop, the more you're going to realize that this what's passing as an American narrative these days, or what's passing as black consciousness in America these days, is disgusting. Is just disgusting. It's pathetic. It's immature. It is disgusting. You know, like I said, once upon a time I used to say, "Hey man, yeah, I'm an African American. I come from a line of Delaney and Nat Turner and look, right now you guys are like, hey, bro, you're not African American. I'm like, thank you, Asante Sana. You get what I'm saying? Like even just this, like I noticed the person's name. Like what you don't realize is this dude, his name is Way-L. Like that's a name from comic books. Like this is like Superman's last name. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, yeah, whatever. But no, seriously, he's like imitating Israel. Okay, it's that ridiculous that he would have the nerve to talk about somebody else's last name, and bear in mind, that like even if you look at quote unquote African American last names, Jones, well sometimes we have last names that are cool, or they have last names that are cool. Well, not cool, but it's like Black man. Like you'd be like, hey, Joseph Blackman. Like just on the nose, or Lucy Brown. Brown, Blackman. Those are decent names if you must if I had to pick a last name, but then there's others that are just John Smith, blah blah blah. Like these are white people names. So it's like it's shameful for you to make fun, like, because the thing is this, the reality is, names like this, sisters, were the names that we had before we came to America, or before we were stolen from Africa. And I mean, like this guy is gonna tell me stop saying we, so I'm gonna try to get the we out of my vocabulary. But yeah, this is just disturbing. But I wanna keep going because that should be self-evident. All right. So, as one who was born and raised in America, whose ancestral lineage in America traces back to the cruel institution of slavery in this country and its equally evil progeny, Jim Crow and segregation, to name a few, I am compelled to respond to what appears to be sustained attacks on those called black in America by writers who are from the African countries. After reading the article while shaking my head, I was struck by the sheer ignorance of the writer's basis. I took to Twitter to offer a critique in hopes of having a civil dialogue with her about this article, and immediately I was blocked. African Americans is not a term I necessarily use. I'll use for the sake of the article to distinguish. Okay, whatever. Somebody find me this guy's Twitter, please. Find me his Twitter. I want him on this show because what he's saying is ridiculous, and I want him to defend it. Anyway, so Ara Eloa Bogochukwu has several articles where she, not being an African American but looking like one, it's called being the same race, right? Disparages African Americans, particularly African American men. Read that article here. Not interested. Eloa Bogochukwu's articles abandons the historical records pertaining to African Americans and its resulting socioeconomic data that unequivocally proves that the people called white here have intentionally kept this group, African Americans, as a bottom caste in this American society. This article, like her others, is a well-designed hit piece on the African American community. Okay, so look at this right here. Whites have intentionally kept this group as a bottom caste. Yeah, there's two races, two castes in America, whites and blacks. Where is it? All right, whatever, African Americans, right? Whites and African Americans, okay? Now, pay attention to this, right? You have two classes, okay? One with power, one without, right? What is the one with power supposed to do? Right? Are they supposed to elevate the ones without power into positions of power? No. Are they supposed to make the ones without power anything like above the bottom caste? Okay? Now pay attention. Now there's two groups, two castes. For the longest while, America was 87% white and 30% black. Now it's 70% white, 13% black, and like 13% other groups, or 17% other groups. The point is, intentionally keeping African Americans down is something that is strategically what white people are supposed to do. Okay? When you don't strategically, intentionally keep the foreign group down, you have something like colonization. Okay, you have something like colonization, where and that would mean that the white boy stole this land uh, for you, right? He didn't. He stole it for you, and he's not going to gain any benefits from the theft that, like the theft that he did himself. Okay, so he steals America. He steals you from Africa. He steals ideas from the natives and from African people as well, right? He steals everything, and then he's just gonna hand you. He's gonna say, "Hey, look, there's two of us remaining. You're not gonna be bottom cast anymore." Like it's stupid. You understand? He has a responsibility to keep up with what his ancestors put in place. Okay? His ancestors put the domination of your people in place. His ancestors put his people in power. He has a responsibility to keep that going. It's if he fails to do that, he is a shame on his own ancestors. You understand? Because they're saying, look, man, we made it so easy for you. All you had to do was keep those, keep them from not reading. All you had to do was keep them from gathering together, keep them from becoming presidents and senators and congressmen. All you had to do that was all you had to do. But instead of doing that, you done told them, hey man, you be the upper caste and we'll be the lower caste. Like white people are dumb, but they're not stupid. Okay? They're not stupid. And for us to say, hey, look, the white man is intentionally holding us down, and that's really the issue. Yeah, okay, Imhotep. Okay. Like you're gonna tell us water's wet? Are you gonna tell us the sky is blue? Come on. Anyway, first, she forced. Yeah, some of you I know. Blue, really scared me. Yeah, don't stop it. All right. First, she force-fits a biblical narrative of generational curses as a springboard to her caustic article, which serves as a justification to formulate her basis of sneak attack on the African American community. As somebody else pointed out, she doesn't even mention black folk in America. Like her whole article is kind of like actually this is it right here. She legit doesn't even mention African Americans. She just said something along the lines of, oh, there's incarceration and illiteracy. Now I think she does sometimes say black folk, but it's like I don't even know if she's in America. You don't get the impression that. I mean, I guess you could probably say, hey, maybe she's talking about America, and most likely she is, but I don't even it's really not this hit piece. It's really just like a Bible. I got annoyed after a while because it looks like I'm just reading a Bible, like a religious sermon, it legit. I was just like, you know what? I'm not even interested in this. It was straight up, hey, on Exodus, But anyway, let's look it up. She cites Exodus where the God of the Bible proclaims that he will visit the iniquity of the fathers upon the children's children, upon the third and the fourth generation. What Eloa Bigachukwu, I might have said that wrong just now, but neglects are examples that highlight instances where African Americans, the target of our article, uses biblical generational curses as the reason for a group's relative shortcoming in the American life. The Christian Bible also says in contradistinction to the verse cited by Eloa Bugachukwu that the one who sins is the one who will die. The child will not share the guilt of the parent, nor will blah, blah, blah. I don't care. If the basis of the premise of such work is flawed, the conclusions will suffer the same problematic issues. Eloa Bugachukwu then leads into the message she cunningly infers by using the fallacy of bootstrapperism. She goes on to say, but how much of the dysfunction is compounded by our decision as opposed to our dissent? Now this is the trouble with a lot of things going on with our people, right? A lot of things going on with our people is that what we're up against is essentially you're always going to have, when it comes to our people, you're always, if you're trying to see the dialogue, for the most part, you're going to have two fools. I no disrespect to the sister, but you're going to have two misinformed people discussing something, So it's how much of our dysfunction is compounded by our decisions as opposed to our dissent. a lot of what you consider dysfunction is just government. You understand? A lot of the success that you will have in life is related to governmental programs. It's kind of like this. Like for instance, you looking at me, Oni, right? In fact, I just bumped into one of my friends from like elementary school. I think, yeah, elementary school, right? And he was just like, "Hey man, what's up, man?" Blah 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 blah. We talked, right? Like we were classmates, okay? The reality is this: that the reason why we were classmates is because there was a public school open to black children that put us together in the same class. You understand? Now, and of course, like you can fall through the cracks, you can become a difference, a distinction, yada yada. But it all comes back to the reality that you are attending a school you did not set up. You understand? It was the government. And now the government didn't like necessarily set it up, but like everything about you attending school relates to the government. In fact, the government makes it so that it was illegal for you not to be in school. You understand? It was illegal for you not to be in school. Your parents could be fined, yada yada, blah 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 blah, right? Whatever. In order to get to school, the government made sure that you were sent to schools local to you. They made sure there were schools local to you. They told you about the schools local to you. They set up the curriculum. They set the teachers' pay. They did blah blah blah. Like everything about my educational experience went back to the government. You understand? And a lot of the dysfunction you get, comes from the schooling that you get, right? But again, it goes back to the fact that New York City government, okay? Like it's not even like it's legit not complicated. But you see, she's gonna tell you bootstrappers. I mean, she doesn't even use this word. She doesn't even say this. But that's why he says infers. But bootstrapperism, all that, it's really like legit. It's really like it's irrelevant. Even whatever this guy is gonna say is just irrelevant. You're always gonna have two people, misinformed people, just yapping away at each other, and it's like, no, what we need is better government. What we need is better government. Point blank, period. Okay, now look at it. Pull yourself up, blah blah blah, is a common backlash phrase first started by those called white in America. Now this is it. Like, just shut up. Like, it's so victim. Like, what do white people have to do with this right now? But anyway, like, oh my gosh, only white people say this. Like, shut up. All right, against the African American citizenry here who sought economic inclusion in the same way the European American gained economic inclusion. Again, government, with the help of government, right? When African Americans sought the same help, we were told, like we are told today, as American descendants of slavery fighting for reparations, which again, the government's not going to give you. Like, so, like, come on. To go get a job like everyone else, among other things expressed to said group. Unfortunately, many of what we thought were once our brothers and sisters from the African blah, 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 have come to America and echoed these white supremacist talking points, right? Like, come on, dude. We thought they were our brothers and sisters, but now they sound like white supremacists. Yeah, okay. Like, dude, like, buy a mirror, But anyway, this is proven in Eloy Bukuchukwu's statement about which deserves to be revisited. Notice that she does not use a question mark to end the sentence, although it is framed in the guise of a question. Like, ugh. Like, this is people, man. Some people are just... Alright, she's asserting that point based on her own opinion as opposed to formulating a question which will lead to a broader discussion or even debate centripetal to her premise. A debate centripetal to her premise. I would venture to say Eloa Bokuchukwu does not want to be challenged on her premise, and the fact that she immediately blocked me gives credence to my assertion. Again, no, she blocked you because you're a troll, dude. Alright, the next sentence, however, has a question mark. How many of us, and this is the thing too, look, you gotta block people more often. Like, a lot of times you have trolls who don't know they're trolls, and for what is what, sometimes I just don't block them. Right? But you should just block people more often. I actually appreciate that there are people out there, and not to say that I'm a troll, but there are people out there who just block me, and I'm like, I legit don't even know who they are. Like they just up and block me, and that's smart. Sometimes, and it's not that it's not to say that I'm a troll or not. Like sometimes you troll you block people for being a challenge, like you said, because sometimes one person's it's like one man's trash is another man's treasure. Like one person's troll or one person's champion is another man's troll. Like this guy's a champion of whatever he's championing. He's a troll. Now, if you believe in whatever nonsense this is, then sure, go ahead. In fact, you can even block me. Like that's cool. Again, I'm not interested in America like you are. Okay, I'm not interested in America like you are. So, like, if you're interested in America, you can't help me anyway. Like, you're not really of use to me anyway. You want to, do whatever it is that people in America do, go for it. Like, you don't even have to hear from me because I'm not even on that agenda. But let's say this right here. How many of us hide behind the guise of inherited issues to dodge the responsibility of having to resolve them? Let's see. This is an abuse of pathos. It's easy to ask this question to a people who as a collective cannot solve this problem on their own. Does the responsibility fall upon an individual or the whole group? Government and private industry created these problems and only government can fix them. Again, look at this. Only government can fix them. Government and private industry created these problems. Only government can fix them. Now, this is something that he has to understand. Okay, so government. Now, if you're not a part of the government, and you aren't, but if you're not a part of the government, then you can't fix your problem. Matter of fact, I actually, hold on a second. I think I want to find this quote about the percentages regarding America's government. Like, that's something I really want to show you. Let me see if I can find this thing quickly. Yeah, I know I was about to say that cheesy line I keep saying, right? Hold on a second. Let's see if I can find it. Scrolling. And if some of you are saying, hey, dude, you're not scrolling, no, I'm scrolling on another screen. Like I have a different client open. Okay, anyway, I found it. All right. This is it. Let's see if I can do that. All right. It says whites are 60% of the population, and first off, look, whites are not 60%. They're like 73%. But anyway, I don't remember the number, but they're like 70-something percent, right? 90% of Congress, okay? 96% of the governors, 100% of the top military leaders, the president and the vice president, all but one of the Democratic candidates for presidency, obviously. 93% of the TV executives, 83% of the teachers, 84% of the college professors. That's it. By the way, shout out to Bitter Medicine podcast. He says because it's a whitey nation, and you gotta find yours. Also shout out to the Harsh Reality podcast. So that's another one on KWZ Radio. So definitely check that out when you can. It's good. It's a good program. But this is what it is though. It's like whites. Yeah, whites are in the best positions in the government. Duh. Like why would they not be? I just don't understand. If we find a nation in Africa, right? If we find a nation in Africa, we the conscious black people looking to get black people ahead, right? Because remember, America is about getting like white folk ahead, right? Like that's actually the origin and story of America. It wasn't, hey, let's go have a land and just make everybody equal, right? Because they killed the Native Americans and they brought black folk the Native Amerindians, and they brought black people here as enslaved individuals, right? So the thing with that is, it started off with like that's simple. So saying all that, looking at all this and being like, oh my gosh, there's something needs to change. Like, you're not even getting it. Look at this. I'm going to show you some of these comments. Richard Spencer said they're doing fine, but just want to make sure it stays that way. They know they're doing fine. Hey, and some of you, well, oh my gosh, they say they're the ones being discriminated against. Yeah, no, they're doing fine. I don't want to press it because I don't know if I think it's going to open up. But it stays, but they just wanted to stay that way. You know? White power. You understand? This is probably a black person saying this. Let's say, sounds about white. And this is the dumb stuff that you get, like, a lot of us write. Sounds about white. This is the one I wanted to show you guys. All right. Asians getting 21% of the SBA loans, so this is small business loans. Well, only 5%, like 6% of the population, and blacks only got 3.3% while being 50% of the population. If the government starts giving them our loans, how's it your loans? All right. Stop giving our loans, man, we can open businesses in our community. Yeah, why would the government want you to go ahead of other groups if that means that they would also fall behind in the process? You understand? And not just that, it's like you don't even, like, the thing with black folks that you're going to see that black folks don't even strategically vote. The thing is this, the Asian community could get behind an Asian politician or a politician who caters to or panders to Asians and says, hey, look, we'll grease your palm a little. Because, see, a lot of us, we know about corruption. Like, you know, in Africa, you know, somebody stops you at the light and you say, hey, man, look, man, why don't you look the other way? Here's this amount of money. He's like, okay, have a nice day. That happens in America, too. Got a politician, hey, man, I'm going to, what we're going to do is we're going to give out loans and blah, 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 and we're going to open small businesses. And then the Asian man says, hey, it sounds like a good idea. Look, man, here's like $50,000, man. $50,000. What about you give us a loan? What about you write us into the loan program? And then they're like, okay, sure. Here's a loan. Here's a loan for $2 million, right? For $50,000, they got $2 million, right? Meanwhile, you're like, hey, we're more people, but you're not giving them nothing. You're not even voting in the primaries. All right, anyway, let's go. This is abuse of pathos. It's easy to ask this question to a people who the collective cannot solve this problem on their own. I already read that part. Government and private industry create this problem. Only government can fix them. Only government can fix them. And white people are the government. See, that's the thing. Another thing. Stop being abstract. I'm not even gonna. Government's important. All right. Ilo Bugachukwu, in her article, fails to give a credible solution by which remedy can be achieved, and instead uses the shaming tactics that very famous African Americans ever noticed. That very few African Americans ever noticed. Former President Barack Obama is famous for using similar shaming tactics against the African American community. Now look, this guy's trying to make it into oh my gosh, other people who are immigrants always say this. No, everybody is telling people, the quote unquote AA, yeah, you got to stand up and get your shit together. Like anybody who cares, because the government does not care. The government can fix the problem. The government can fix the problem. But if the government is the one creating the problem, then the government is not going to fix the problem. So that's why people say, get the fuck out and go to a different government. But if you're going to stay in this government, understand that the government created the problem, and you as an individual or as a community need to react accordingly, not beg the government to fix it because the government is the one that created the problem. Anyway, let's see. So yeah, all right. So, former president, blah, 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 famous. However, because African Americans viewed Barack Obama as one of us, he wasn't. His father was Kenyan. His mother was a European American woman from Kansas. We accepted this shaming, although it was designed as treatment of African Americans by European Americans that brought about generational poverty, mental illness, and a host of other conditions that were and are largely out of control insofar as remedying these conditions are concerned. Read here and here for examples. All right. How anti-African Americans, blah, 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 on their own. What I have noticed is that when writers from any of the African countries write or make disparaging remarks like Ilo Bugachukwu, they are usually picked up and spread by African American celebrities who have forgotten their own roots due to their newfound riches and now live behind a decadent veil. As a result, writers like Iloabo Kachukwu somehow morph into a pseudo-authority on African American issues without ever tackling the root systematic problems beset within said community, while being ignorant of or ignoring the data and statistics that undergird the problems that they pretend to care about. Iloabo Kachukwu is telling African Americans to pull yourself up by your own bootstrap by massing it in a verbose coupled with an obscure, out-of-place biblical anecdote. Remember, I came across this article because it was shared on Facebook and given approval by more African Americans who are disproportionately women. Now, look at this guy, who were disproportionately women. More African Americans who were disproportionately women. Like you already know where this guy is coming from. You already know where this guy's coming from. Like again, the last name L. Like, come on, dude, or Way L or something like that. Like something stupid, like Way L. Like, come on, just give the Jew man his thing back. All right. Writers like this ignore the data. They're looking for emotional responses. Iloabo Kachukwu and her ilk are claiming that African Americans are somehow mired in denial and deflection when it comes to why our group is at the bottom of the American society. To the contrary, Harvard historian and academic Richard Rothstein, in The Color of His Law, explicitly illuminates how racist elected officials, elected means that the majority or a plurality of white people put these people in office. Okay, official means they're in office. Elected means a plurality, which is close to a majority of, and especially in the two-party system, it's the majority of voters, more or less, put these people in power, and they use the power of their office to phase out African Americans from property ownership, thereby destroying the possibility of generational wealth transfer. So he's saying, look, man, how our government segregated America. Government, okay? Government segregated America. Just pay attention. Government. All right. Iloabo Kachukwu would probably benefit from Coates' The Case for Reparation. In order to truly understand the depth of how America's white racists use the system to subvert laws, the whites, racists, and don't even worry about the word racist. The whites use the system to subvert laws. They didn't subvert laws. They subvert laws. Whatever, you can say that. They made the laws. Or even worse, create racially restrictive housing covenants that locked out many, not even worse, even better. For them, it's even better. Create racially restrictive housing covenants that locked out many blacks in America from achieving upward mobility. A collaborative work entitled What We Go Wrong, blah, 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 featuring some of the nation's top economists, like the professor of public policy. And notice, I think a lot of people, some of these are black people. Sandy Doherty was compiled with the intent of dispelling the top myths about why African Americans are the bottom rung of American. It doesn't matter why. It's the fact that they are there, and they were there for 400 years. And the intention is that they will be there for another 400 years. Maybe a review of the highly acclaimed blah blah blah, right? Michelle Alexander, New Jim Crow, will serve Iloabo Kachukwu and those of her ilk in better understanding how the political injustice systems were cudgels to knock down any form of upward mobility from African Americans in this country. Of course it is. That is the responsible thing to do. Like, this is the trouble. Like, we the people, we're just like, man, why are you people, like, they're keeping us on the bottom. And I'll show you some data to show, like, white people know they're keeping you on the bottom. You are at the bottom for 400 years. Like, do you not realize you're on the bottom of America for 400 years? So their grandparents knew you as being on the bottom. Come on. 400 years. Come on. There are a plethora of sources which will show that the only generational curse that African Americans incurred was at the hands of the people called white in America, and not by a slew of bad decisions that we somehow bequeathed to our progeny, as the level wrongly suggests. The economic positionality of the African American community, which has led to a myriad of mental, familial, and other issues, have been designed by bigots who hold power in American society. Here's the ever-growing gap: black, Latino, and white household wealth. So the black wealth is this red line, the Latino wealth is this light blue line, and the white wealth is this other line. I think it's dark blue. Alright, look, so this is the median wealth of black Americans will fall to zero by 2053. And look, that's what I'm saying, like, it's like this. all right, you were at this point, 2001. You had 14,000 in the bank. It looks like, right? Yeah, 14,000 in the bank. You lost all that. You're down to 1,700. Okay. And oh yeah, while you had 14,000, these guys had 140,000. Okay, 10 times as much. This right here is 16 times as much. This right here, right? So you could say it's an ever-growing gap if you wanted to do the multiplication. It doesn't matter. Here's the thing though. This, you could have taken this 14,000, right? Went to Africa, right? And made it up here. You could have maybe made it up here. You could have been like, oh, I got 50,000 now, right? 60,000. You could have been the upper class in Africa. Instead, you chose, and you can say, well, no, I didn't choose. I just didn't move, right? You chose, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to, look, this is the thing you got to realize. This is just 10 years. This is just 10 years. Now, some of you are going to be like, well, isn't that the Obama years? And you think Obama, let me think. Is that Obama years? Well, this right here might be Obama years, I think. I don't know. But, yeah, I think, yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is Obama years right here, right? So before that, so this is George W. Bush, and then this is Obama. But it's like, instead of you saying, hey, we could actually do something with this, you guys say, oh man, let's see where these white people take us. All right. In a sense, some of the writers, including entertainers from the various African countries, some by way of Britain, are like shapeshifters. I kind of like this one. This was kind of stupid, though. They, in appearance, become us. Reference to Jordan Peele's film featuring a Kenyan-Mexican actress, Lupita Nyong'o, and Tobagonian actor Winston Duke, playing the role of an African-American family, and lend their voices to our struggle, usually by demeaning those of us who are, due to generations of accrued disadvantage placed on us by the dominant society, minding their struggles while maintaining their own cultural background and distinction. It's like, dude, they're called actors. Like, I think he goes more into it right here. This is why Cynthia Erivo can, in one breath, talk bad about African Americans. You can click here. I kind of don't want to, but anyway. Then in the next instance, play one of our most iconic heroes in Harriet Tubman, and no one will notice that this person does not descend from the culture she is cloaking herself in for the advances that many of the American descendants of slaves are boxed out of. As an example, Daniel Kaluuya, a British actor, is set to play the role of Fred Hampton, an iconic African-American Black Panther and civil rights leader who was assassinated by the Chicago Police Department, in which appeared to be a coordinated attack with the FBI. In one interview, which I'm finding a hard time to locate, cool story, bruh. Kaluuya claims to have had no prior knowledge of Fred Hampton. Okay, surprise. I'm of the opinion that the roles of the roles of iconic African Americans should exclusively go to African Americans whose ancestors went through pain and suffering in Hollywood to pry open closed doors. It's unfair, in my opinion, that Cynthia Erivo gets to portray Harriet Tubman and Aretha Franklin, and Kaluuya gets to portray Fred Hampton, while many African American actors who are not only more qualified for these roles, but stand upon the shoulders of the descendants of those African Americans who opened the doors in Hollywood. They now get bypassed by foreigners who have no link to our generational Pacific American struggle. Again, I am of the opinion, shut up. Like, the thing is this, you ain't got no power. Who cares? And the thing is this, the trouble is this, you might be like, man, it's just one random dude. No, if you look at the ADOS movement, they, out of the mouth of Yvette Carnell, she said, hey, it was just good timing. Like, this right here, this Harriet Tubman incident is what set the ADOS movement, like, made it popular. Because they were just like, man, this woman doesn't like African Americans, and yet she's playing Harriet Tubman. Now, bear in mind, Harriet Tubman is from, I want to say 200 years ago. How many films, right? How many films are there on her? And not only that, there is a film in Africa on Harriet Tubman. I can't remember the name. It's named after her real name. I think it's Amanita Rose. Let me see if I can find it. Let me just see if I can find it. Amanita. Hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds. So there is an actual play. I want to say it's called Aminata Ross, but I don't see anything for that, so I'm not gonna. All right, so I can't. All right, I don't want to waste too much time looking it up. But basically, you know, there's a film for her in Ghana, and they're playing it. It's no, sorry, not a film, it's a play, and they're playing it, and things are going great for that. But instead of us saying, hey, you know what? She's hold on a second. Instead of us saying, hey, hello, she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, right? Instead of that, what we're we get blah 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 blah, right? So anyway, let's go back to this thing. All right, are you writing because you care? Okay, it appears that writers like Iloabo Kachukwu seeks to appease the white power structure here in America by attempting to tie into the dominant society while blending it with the light group, America's proxy bottom caste, African Americans, all the while harboring some form of resentment against that group. This is highlighted in the above quote when she says, but how much of our dysfunction, oh yeah, how much of our dysfunction is compounded by our decisions as opposed to our dissent? You know, I emphasize and highlight her use of the word our. Let's analyze and emphasize how she personalizes an African American issue, right? So, how many of us hide behind this guise of inherited issues to dodge the responsibility of having to resolve them? Probably quite a few of us. And when we take this passage as proof positive that our propensity for problematic behavior is everyone's fault but our own, rendering us helpless to defend ourselves against it, we embrace a level of victimhood that keeps us trapped in its cycle. This quote is problematic in many ways. This is, of course, victim blaming 101. No, it's not victim blaming 101. She's letting you know, hey, look, you're a damn person. But anyway, Iloabo Kachukwu's attempt to cloak herself in the target of her subject, African Americans, is as cunning as it is disingenuous. And the thing is this, she never actually said, like, look, let me show you this. She never actually says America. See, look, you search it, and she never uses the word America, right? Let me see, does she use the word United? No, she doesn't use the word United. So it's not necessarily that she's actually talking about quote unquote African Americans or African Americans exclusively. But of course, you know, this guy is an African American and he has that victim mentality. So everybody and everything is talking about him all the times. All right, Iloabo Kachukwu, an Igbo Nigerian writer, according to her Instagram page, does not share in the unique suffering and experience of African American descent of slavery does. In fact, Nigerian Americans and others who immigrate to America are more likely to succeed in this country than African Americans because they're not descended from American slavery. No, it's not because they're not descended from American slavery. It's because if you look again, it's like the government, right? If you are migrating from another country, a lot of times, particularly if you're migrating from Africa, if you're migrating from Nigeria, you were distinguished, like you pretty much get aided to come to America. Not just that, you get aided, and if you can get into contact with the community here, you can be further assisted. You know, like a lot of things make it so that, like, because basically you become a Nigerian diaspora that comes together and works together and builds together. You know, now the trouble is that, and now so this will be you'd be coming as an upper class person, right? Which makes it easier for you to engage the system as it is, right? And then you'd be coming into a community that has been engaging the system as it is, which is different from our experiences here in America, where you pretty much do not have, like you don't have an upper class community. Or a lot of us do not have access to the upper class black community. Okay, so there is actually an upper class black community that does not have to sweat any of the stuff that we're sweating. Okay, like upper class African American community that does not have to sweat what we're sweating. Okay, but all right, let's say because these foreigners are given this opportunity, which leads them to rapid upward mobility within their group, they thumb their nose at the African Americans here in the same way that this called white people do. And the sad part is, I don't think they're fully aware of it. Like again, like there is African Americans. Oh, I think at some point he's going to talk about this stupid TV show. Yeah, he's going to talk about this stupid TV show. All right. This action, however, is not confined to Nigerian Americans. Every group that immigrates to America plugs into the bigotry of the nation's dominant society in an attempt to appear upper class. And they do so by punching down on America's proxy lower class. Now the thing is this: they are upper class. You know. And the thing is this: again, like I said, there is an African American upper class that does the exact same thing. The reality is that you have to see that there are people who are like class is another thing that people use when engaging with other people. Like we do have a class-based lens. We do have class biases. Like and everybody, it's like everybody has class biases, and we know this. So it's like the idea that, and this is what I'm saying. Like, what do you expect, quote unquote, like people from Nigeria to do? Like, just come to America and be like, hey, you guys are the best. You guys are so amazing. The way how yeah. Like what exactly? Like, did you bring them to America? No, right? Did you have communities open for them to be in America, like thriving, successful communities that put the life that they wanted? No, but you're just not even whatever. All right, we are called a series of targeted areas by the continent, particularly the West African countries, whose African Americans are labeled akata, which literally means wild animal. It does not. It means stray cat. It means and stray cat. It's like an allegory for it's just an allegory. Hold on a second. I mean, like I can explain it to you, but I don't even care to because who cares? But it's not. It's an innocent remark. It's like, oh, you're an African diaspora. You know what I mean? You're in the diaspora. That's all it means, right? All right. So this pejorative has been picked up and used by many Nigerians in online circles. Arabians call us abid. Yeah, I don't think it's just you guys. Italians, Sicilians call us morian, eggplant. Muyate, black beetle is a name we're called by Mexicans. Okay, cool story, bro. Like this is just like we call this such a name. Like, and the thing is this: the function of this article is not so much to be logical and rational, but to give like it's kind of like just throwing a lot of stuff at you to make this person not just seem like they're saying more, but also make it seem like they have something to say, right? So oh shit, okay. So like you like, oh man, he knows what they're of, and like it serves its function because it's like, wow, this person's really like they did their homework, they did their research, they're trying to make a cohesive thing, but it's just all of it's ridiculous, and like unfortunately a lot of people will look at this and be like, well, that was a good read, that was an excellent article. All right, from blog to TV show, African Americans are catching it from continental Africans. This extremely adverse sentiment of continental Africans disparaging African Americans can be found in CBS's blatantly racist television show entitled Bob Hurts Abishola. In this series, Bob, a middle-aged compression sock businessman from Detroit, unexpectedly falls for his Nigerian cardiac nurse named Abishola. Bob's a white guy. The show purports to delve into the lives of immigrants in America and the obstacles they face. However, what this show appears to be is a front to spew white racism via a black face. Several episodes show Nigerian Americans disparaging African Americans. In the seventh episode, the children of African Americans prompt backlash caused a petition to be launched in hopes of having the show pulled. I don't want you to have a show. All right, pulled from the air of the blatant racism and bigotry as the show highlights Nigerian Americans positioning themselves to be more desirable class of blacks to white people. In one scene, a Nigerian woman says that she would date men from several other ethnic backgrounds before she'd date an African American man, and that she'd only date an African American man as a last resort. Okay, cool story. Like, and that's the thing too. It's like, okay, okay. Because the thing is this, like real talk. How many women can you date? You know what I mean? Like, how many women or how many men, if you're into men, like if you're a woman, I guess, right? How many men can you date? Like, what do you care if other people have a bias, even if it's a bias that's not, like, I have a bias against non-black groups. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? And like, some people have biases against black groups or melanated groups or whatever you want to call them, and it's like, I don't care. Why do you care? That's your prerogative. Like, that's your prerogative. Anyway, the same attack. Just recently, another article was published against an African American political group called ADOS by a woman named JAM, Jessica Awayor. ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, has staunchly pushed for reparations for American descendants, and they're not even doing that. And like, again, you can't get, like, you're not getting reparations. So it's like, cool story, brah. But anyway, for American Descendants of Slavery, and again, like I said, ADOS really was just pushing against African groups, pushing against, oh my gosh, this woman's gonna play in a Hollywood movie, and that should have been Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson should have played Harriet Tubman. He's a much better actress. He's a much better actor than, like, shut up, right? Just shut up. has staunchly pushed for reparations for African descendants of slavery, and are the very reason why it has become a hot button political topic of discussion, even making its way onto the presidential debate stage. Look, it's all every 4 years it's on the presidential debate stage. Well, okay. IR claims that she is IR claims that she is not from the African continent, but has a name because she married someone from the continent. Okay. Nevertheless, she wrote a scathing, nauseating, lengthy hit piece against the ADOS movement, filled with misinformation, cherry-picked tweets from random Twitter accounts that use foul language, and this is how the whole movement speaks. Yeah, okay. And meanwhile, along with misrepresenting what the movement is truly about, even Representative Ilhan Omar, another foreigner enjoying American life, like while African Americans suffer, co-signed this hit piece. Now again, like there are so many, never mind. There's like so many black folk who are enjoying American life. Like, come on. Like Ilog Bugachukwu, when confronted by advocates of the ADOS movement, IR immediately blocked them. Yeah, because you're all trolls, including myself. You're a troll. IR claimed that she wasn't backing down, a tweet I read on her page, but instead of facing those whom she accuses, not backing down, she summarily dismisses them by blocking them from her Twitter feed. Those of us who descend from America's cruel institution of slavery truly have no friends in this world. Okay. For anyone seeking to understand what the ADOS movement is dedicated to, please visit ados.101.com. I don't even know if that's the right website, but don't visit it. It's like, I mean, you could if you want to. Who cares? But I wouldn't. All right. The purpose of this article is not written to be divisive, as many will accuse me, while letting the writers of actual divisive anti-American articles get a pass. Instead, the purpose of this article is to shed light to a growing trend of African writers and entertainers like Cynthia Rufo, Lovey, among others, who have said some very damaging things about African Americans as their reward for doing such behavior to be lead roles in major American films, all the while pretending to care about the issues facing African Americans. In America, most conscious African Americans view the people of Africa as brothers and sisters of the larger global struggle. I've nicknamed the struggle that connects us diaspora and claims themselves to be Pan-African. However, sentiment is not reciprocated by many brothers and sisters from the various countries on the continent. Well, duh. These people here, these quote unquote conscious are a minority. They're going to be a minority in Africa too. The people in Africa are not going to be interested in Pan-Africanism, just like the people in America, you, sir, are not interested in Pan-Africanism. And the reality is this too. I already kind of outlined this before, but Pan-Africanism is so unrealistic that it makes sense why people do not just, oh yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put Nigeria and Ghana in the same country. Yeah, how? How? Anyway, I urge all African American writers to be on the lookout for these types of articles and instances to be so trenchant in your responses that it will discourage future articles like Eloa from being written. Eloa Bukuchuku. I usually skip names, by the way, not because I just you already know from being written. We're now hip to the charade, and those of us whose lineage begins with the establishment of America, which okay, with all our flaws and shortcomings, will not any longer let those from the outside pile on what we already have to deal with here. The day is over. Peace. 6/20/21. Moorish American. DOS. Yeah. So, long story short, this is just. What is this? Like, what is this? The focus of a people should be on land and leadership, which is power. Okay, the focus of a people should be on power. You will notice that none of this has to do with power. None of this has to do with power. At one point, he's like, "They look like us, and they're taking our films." And again, this not your films. Hollywood is not a black city. Like, Hollywood's a city. You have to understand. It's a city that white people built to entertain white people. White people built Hollywood to entertain white people. You're like, we opened the doors to Hollywood. We opened the doors to Hollywood. Look, we African Americans who opened the doors to Hollywood. Like, what? Yeah, okay. It was the white man. It's the white man's. You understand? So if he's making films, you can make films. And the thing is this too, that a lot of us don't realize, that African Americans have a large film industry. Have a large film industry, but because they're not made by white folk, We don't even pay attention to it. Like you just look up Black Lifetime movies, or just look up any kind of like just look up something on YouTube. I'd look it up, but you know, it's not my YouTube, whatever, right? But yeah. So anyway, let me just say that. What else? Yeah. So it's like power, land. There's nothing here talking about land. Nothing. Nothing here talking about leadership at all. You would benefit. The thing is that you're talking bad about us. Yeah. Like, do you understand this? This right here. This chart that you just showed makes it clear why people would say, "Hey, what's white people doing? What are white people thinking? How can I fit in with white folk?" Because a lot of people down here say the same thing, and they're not even immigrants. But anyway, I don't wanna take up too much of your time. Wait a second. ADOS, FBA are two sides of the same coin as xenophobia, black cowardice, and ineptitude. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, brother. Yeah, like this is what we have to realize, that this is what they are. It's just ridiculous. Because the thing is this: it's like, why you don't want white people, you don't want black folk to go to white folk, right? Then you have to do better than white people. People are going to go towards the best opportunity. And unless you are offering the best opportunity, people will not be going to you. You know, one of these times I was in the UNIA meeting and his brother was like, "Hey man, I don't like people from Africa." And I didn't expect to hear this from somebody in the UNIA. But I didn't expect this to hear this from somebody from the UNIA. But what they said was, people weren't, and it's like, okay, let's say people from Africa were to come visit and talk to people in America, right? Because a lot of times you might have somebody from Africa, they go and they go to Yale and they go to Harvard to host talks, and he's like, why do they do that instead of coming to our community? Because your community, not right now, because your community, I don't know if you guys heard that, but yeah. All right. Anyway, let me just get out of here. But what I'm saying is this: like that's the gist of it. That's the long and short of it. That you that's the long and short of it. All right. All right. Anyway, thank you, family, for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I'm a little rushed, but that's how life is. Oh yeah, like, subscribe, share, love, deuces.